Hello and welcome to the Two-Man Booth, your weekly scheduled podcast on the crazy world of professional wrestling. With me, Jonathan.
And me, Adam. And we will start this week as we always do with the news. And I think the first thing we need to talk about without any shadow of a doubt is the fact that AEW's All Out show has sold out in 15 minutes.
It's done quite well, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we saw screenshots of people on Twitter who were like 65,000th place in the queue, which is just kind of insane.
Yeah, they could have run a stadium.
They could have run a stadium if all those people were there to buy tickets. And there was a 4-ticket limit on everybody purchasing tickets, but can you imagine if all 65,000 of them had bought 4 tickets? Jesus. It's just like
5 Tokyo Domes.
Yeah, this is just unbelievable, really, for a quote-unquote, as people like to insult them, a T-shirt company to go out there and do this again.
When was the last time a wrestling company had this much momentum?
I genuinely have no idea.
Like, it literally must be like, WWE before Mania X7. Like, it's the only time that I can ever think that a company has had this much momentum where like it feels like it can't do anything wrong.
And me and you have been talking for ages about, yes, All In did really well, but the key is going to be how does Double or Nothing do and how does the following shows do, because I guess Double or Nothing will get a big bit of buzz because it's the first official AEW show since All In was just an independent show.
Yeah.
But then Double or Nothing did really well, and then we're like, well, All Out, that's going to be where we have the testing of the waters, and they've done it again. Like, at what point do we stop going, this is going to be the true test of AEW, and just go, these guys are really successful?
I totally agree. I think it's literally just Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. Like, we've spoken about Jacksonville as like the litmus test for quite a long time, and I think if we get to a point where they draw decently well in Jacksonville, we're like, hey, you know what, like, let's stop asking about, will AEW draw well? Like, there's obviously like a groundswell of people who want to see their shows, and I don't blame them. I have also seen the current ticket sales for Stomping Grounds. Yeah,
not good.
Tickets are not selling. I mean, don't know why.
Would you buy tickets to a show that's going to be headlined by Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin?
Yeah, I love Baron Corbin because we need more tall guys.
Right, okay.
We'll talk about that one later.
And the next thing we need to talk about also revolves around AEW. It's the fact that it's been announced that Fyter Fest will stream for free on BR Live, providing you subscribe to BR Live, although Cody has said it can be a free subscription. So that's a pretty cool little gimmick for anybody who wants to tune in and see Fyter Fest.
Yeah, Bleacher Report's just a massive, news outlet for anything to do with sports now, isn't it? So Bleacher Report are known pretty much across the internet now, so any extra exposure they can get is great. And if they've got some kind of like free trial-ish subscription service,
I'm not exactly sure what the free subscription Cody was referring to revolved around, but he did, like in his interview, he did make the point that this is not some kind of like hook you and then you've got to pay something down the line.
Yeah, you can just get it for free.
You can just get it for free.
I think people will sign up in droves, and that's great for Bleacher Report, and it's great for AEW, and like everything they're doing so far in terms of their business.
Smart.
Oh, it's just super smart. Like, they're getting other companies involved. They're promoting themselves as very much the cool alternative. Like, I can see sponsors being desperate to get involved with AEW because if they make wrestling cool again.
Well, I think the big thing was the reporting of who exactly watched Double or Nothing. I don't think we talked about this on the podcast terms of the breakdown, but I listened to Wrestling Observer Radio, and Meltzer basically broke down who was buying the pay-per-view, and there was very little overlap with the WWE audience, which was interesting.
The over 55s.
But the massive thing was they drew really well in the 18 to 35 range, which is an absolute...
It's dead at the moment, isn't it?
It's just really hard for, not just for wrestling, but for any TV product or any pay-per-view product to draw that kind of audience. That section of society is really difficult to draw to watch. And the fact that AEW can is amazing, because that is the area that sponsors most want, because that's their target audience in terms of people with disposable income and stuff like that. Your 18 to 35 is your major age range that advertisers like the target.
Doesn't this show as well, we've spoken for ages and people have always gone, WWE need to move away from PG and go back to what they were and all the risque stuff. Well, in Double or Nothing, apart from the blood that was involved in the match between Cody and Dustin, Like, there wasn't anything that I looked at that and went like, "Oh, that's super risky." It's just
even-
if you put a good product on that's cool, people will watch.
Even that, I mean, I think we've established that AEW TV is going to be TV-14, but that being said, there's nothing that says you can't have blood on a PG show.
Yeah.
That's always been a WWE decision to make their sponsors happy, which is
Yeah.
absolutely fine, and it's totally their call. But I don't think there was anything that aired on Double or Nothing that could say that you couldn't show on a PG show.
Or that a parent wouldn't show their child, like their teenager or something.
Yeah. So really interesting news coming out of AEW, and with that wraps up the news for this week. So we will move on to Monday Night Raw.
Hooray! I'm going to do that every week until it gets good.
Well, you're going to be doing it for quite a few weeks.
Quite a long time.
Yeah. We open with Seth Rollins. He calls this a new
Whoa,
era.
not a wrestling match.
No.
We didn't start with a wrestling match.
And I know it's a shocking.
I am shocked.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue with that.
He calls this a new era. God, how many times have we heard that? Like, even just over the past year, I believe we've lived through at least 6 or 7 new eras.
Do you remember the one where the McMahons all came out and they were like, things are going to be different? And
you are in charge now.
Nothing's different at all. And we had the reboot with all of the NXT guys coming in, and now they're not the shiny new toy anymore. Anyway, sorry, I keep interrupting.
So Seth said people can come at him, but no one has ever beat down the beast like he did last week. Corbin interrupts and says Seth should worry about him, not Brock. He intimates the referee cost him the match on Friday, but he will have that ref punished and will get his rematch at Stomping Grounds. As an addendum, he gets to pick a special guest ref for the rematch.
Why?
Seth mocks him for having no friends, but Sami Zayn comes out and says he is in Corbin's corner. He says it would be better for everyone if Corbin was champ. KO comes out and says he agrees with Sami. Long story short, it's Owens versus Seth later. It was the same old stuff we see in every opening segment.
Talking.
And I've wrote this in my notes and I've not gone back to change it because this didn't happen, but I said at least the match will be very good. Because I genuinely remember them having a great match in our show in 2010, which also contained a really fun Kings of Wrestling versus Young Bucks match and one weird segment where Austin Aries distracted Delirious by coming out in Daisy Hayes' clothes, but we're getting off topic.
A little bit.
Yeah, but so I expect this to be a really good main event, which was why I put the line in about, well, at least the match will be good. Mm-hmm. We will get to the main event later. Yeah. It was not good.
So the opening segment wasn't good. And how have we got to the point where heels have friends, but babyfaces don't?
Because babyfaces are idiots. We've established this for a very long time on this show.
It's just like, and why? Why does Corbin get to choose a special referee?
I don't know.
You know the whole thing about people always complain that the company...
Don't try and apply logic to this company.
You know, people always complain about the whole, the company's the heel.
Yeah.
Like, if they actually want to make people like the company, maybe they should try and start maybe promoting the company not as the heel. You know, like how in 205 Live, the authority... figure and everything in 205 Live. Or don't, because I don't want them to ruin it. But the authority figure's not really been a heel. Don't.
Yeah, but...
Or Regal, let's give it better. Regal then, okay? Regal
yeah.
is, and therefore you have no problem with any decisions that NXT make because the company is promoted, or the show is promoted
yeah.
as a baby face promotion.
Everybody stands at the start of TakeOver chanting NXT.
Yeah.
Nobody stands at the start of a WWE show chanting WWE.
No,
it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to chant, granted, but
they chant AEW midway through.
So next up we had Lars Sullivan versus Lucha House Party in an elimination match.
How many times?
Lars hits the freak accident on Kalisto and eliminates him, and then powerbombs Dorado to pin him. Metalik gets some kicks in, but Lars quickly reestablishes control, destroys Kalisto and Dorado again before hitting the top rope headbutt on Metalik to win. This is exactly what they should have done in Saudi Arabia.
It is.
It's
just they've done it. Like they've done this segment and this whole feud has gone about a month. Like how long has it gone for? Like
I don't know.
It feels like it's gone about 2 weeks longer than it should have.
I wouldn't have minded it, if they'd done the whole thing where Lars
squashed
Lucha House Party up week after week after week, and then they somehow flukily got sort of some kind of upper hand on him on the final show before Saudi Arabia, and then they did this match in Saudi Arabia. That would have been perfectly good booking, but they've messed it up throughout the feud, and then in the match in Saudi Arabia, which we obviously didn't see, but I've seen the results for.
I know what happened.
He won by DQ. Like, come on, man. You're trying to build this guy up as a monster.
That whole show was booked fairly, but we haven't discussed it, but, that whole show was booked appallingly.
You mean you wouldn't have put Shane McMahon over Roman Reigns?
Shane's the best. We will talk about this at some point because
Shane is the best in the world.
But it's not confirmed, but there are rumours going around the wrestling world, in case you haven't heard, there are rumours that Shane is in line to beat Kofi for the WWE title.
Awesome.
Not confirmed.
You know what this show has been missing? More Shane McMahon.
More Shane. Until Meltzer confirms it and talks about it, we will not report it as fact, but that is the big rumour going round.
So we have some 24/7 rubbish, and then Michael Cole interviews Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans from the commentary table whilst they sit in separate locations backstage. Becky says she's already tapped Lacey out, but Evans says she won't stop until she gets what she wants. Becky wants revenge for Lacey costing her the SmackDown title, and Lacey says Becky is afraid of falling back into obscurity when Lacey wins the title from her at Stomping Grounds. This was like a segment.
It was just boring as well. Like I because a lot of the time when I wake up in the morning, I watch, as I'm going into work, I watch some of the segments on YouTube just to make sure that I know like everything that's going on as well before I watch it later on. The actual title they gave it on YouTube was Becky and Lacey have a heated exchange. Was it heated? Like
They argued.
They are, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I didn't have much heat to it whatsoever.
Women don't like each other. That was what it came across like again.
So Alexa and Nikki are backstage, and Nikki is sad because she thought they would be teaming to face the Iconics tonight. Alexa apologises but says that Bayley bullied her in NXT, and there is only so long you can pretend to be someone you're not before you get found out. That was actually really subtle for them. I loved that line. I thought I was sitting there going, wow, somebody in this company has got some actual subtlety and is not just standing there trying to crack a walnut with a sledgehammer.
That must have snuck through. I bet Vince must have gone to the toilet at that point of the...
I bet you Vince was watching it going, damn it, we've not made it clear enough that Alexa's still a bad person. These idiots aren't going to understand.
No, genuinely, I'm pretty sure Vince just went to the toilet at that point of the writers' meeting. And they were all like, quick, write it in before he comes back. Write it in. He won't see. Literally what Ambrose tried to do. Where Ambrose tried to write in the part of his promo where before Vince could see it.
So she says she's Nikki's friend and wants her to be in her corner for her and Lacey versus Becky and Bayley later tonight. Miz TV starring Samoa Joe is next. Miz intros him, but Joe quickly corrects him, saying he's not a new champion. He's just got back his property from a thief.
Good line.
Miz says last week Ray did the right thing and Joe choked him out anyway, and he doesn't like that Joe brought Ray's family into things. Joe doesn't care. He does what he wants to get what he wants. He says he was brought out here on the understanding they were going to discuss possible challenges. But if that's not the case, then he may as well talk about Miz's family. Braun interrupts and wants a fight, but Lashley comes out. He wants Braun and Joe. Ricochet wants a shot too, and Cesaro wants one too. Cesaro attacks Ricochet, and then we get the mass brawl. Typical revolving door segment with 3 faces and 3 heels leading to a 6-man tag match.
Sorry to interrupt, I was going to say, but like, how many times have we seen the revolving door segment in the last month and a half?
Just constantly.
Like,
this wasn't a particularly bad one.
But though. Has it happened? Has it happened that much before now? Or have I just started to notice them in the last month and a half?
You just started to notice.
Yeah, because like, my God, it's getting infuriating.
I do think there's probably more of it than before.
It does feel there's more.
There always has been, like, every week revolving door segments.
Like, it never used to happen in WCW. Like, back on Nitro, if 2 people were going to talk, those 2 people talked.
I don't know, towards the end.
Yeah, I don't mean towards the end.
Jesus. There would be there would be segments where you would start with, say, and I'm just going to pick 2 random people here, like Ric Flair and not Reed, who was David Flair.
David Flair.
Or feuding in some kind of feud. So they have a promo segment, and then like people come out to support David and people come out to support Rick, and you've got loads of people in the ring. And then just to top it off, DDP comes out. He's not involved in the feud, but he's feuding with his wife. So Kimberly comes out, and then Bischoff, who's sleeping with Kimberly, comes out, and then they have an argument. And I'm like, why are 2 segments happening simultaneously? We haven't reached that point yet.
Okay, but
that's not happening on Raw.
Let's be clear though, right? When I'm giving examples of how to do it. And
you're not talking about Nitro in 2000.
And I say Nitro, and you go straight to 2000 rather than say, I don't know, 96, 97, even 98 at a push.
Because that's what stands out to me when I think of WCW Monday Nitro.
How did you go to 2000
Because
and not
Nitro is so bad in 2000.
and not like the NWO comes out just to be the coolest heels in the world?
The second Russo run is one of the worst periods of a company I've ever seen in my entire life. So, you know, that's where my mind automatically goes.
How bad's this getting in comparison? It's like third?
It's got to be up there.
Yeah. Anyway,
so we get the 6-man tag match that I just referred to.
a tag match.
Yes, I know.
You know what? Is Teddy Long booking these? Is Teddy Long now the head booker? This would make a lot of sense because there's been a lot of tag matches lately.
So Braun does some lucha stuff early as the babyfaces take control. Yes, lucha stuff. It was weird. It was like that episode of Raw where Kane and Big Show did some sort of chain wrestling to start things off.
What is this?
I remember that being awesome. So the heels isolate Miz, but he gets a hot tag to Ricochet, who runs wild, finishing with a Sasuke special as we head to a break. When we return, the heels have got the heat, because of course they have. Miz gets the lukewarm tag, because I refuse to call this a hot tag. Joe tags in and hits the senton, but Braun breaks up the pin attempt. Braun takes Lashley out on the floor. Cesaro hits a long swing on Miz before turning it into a sharpshooter, but Ricochet breaks it up with a single-legged code breaker. Braun gets the hot tag and runs wild. He covers Cesaro, but Joe breaks it up. Joe tries to attack him, but Braun goozles him and then powers him up into a power slam position, but Joe slips out, powders, grabs the title, and runs away. Miz is back in, but Cesaro takes control and goes for the neutralizer, but Miz reverses out and hits the skull-crushing finale before tagging Ricochet in to hit the 630 for the win. Ricochet absolutely murdered Cesaro with the 630. You very rarely see Ricochet screw up.
There were rumours that it's going to be banned as well, you know, now.
But
apparently Vince is not happy.
He didn't get it massively wrong. He just over-rotated and went slightly to the left, so he just crushed Cesaro's thigh. But I haven't heard the rumours about it being banned, man.
It wasn't reported by anyone that I would trust. It was reported by a fairly well-known YouTube account. So I don't trust it 100% because they have been wrong on numerous occasions. But that is where I saw it reported. I won't name them by name.
So Rude Interviewer interviews Corbin backstage and asks if he has chosen his referee yet. He says he has interviews to hold and it needs to be somebody competent, which rules her out. Rude Interviewer suffers from robotic dysfunction at this point, as Sammy tips up and wants to talk to Corbin. This was just there, but after they shooed Rude Interviewer away, Sammy mouthed, "I don't like her," and for some reason I just totally felt the pieces at that point. I just totally cracked up. Sammy he's amazing. He deserves
Sammy's
better.
On your side.
Well, yeah, but he deserves better. No, I don't dislike Charlie. The only reason she's Rude Interviewer is because of that one show we were reviewing very early on in this podcast,
where she was abnormally
where she
weird.
was just rude to everybody for no reason. I think she tipped. I think it was Sasha and Bailey where I really noticed it, where she turned up and she was just totally rude, and I was like, "This is a bit harsh."
Yeah.
So it's
calm down, love.
It's just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
So next up we had Alexa and Lacey versus Becky and Bailey. The two teams trade control early until the babyfaces have the edge, heading into the break, and when we come back, the heels naturally have control. Way to make me care. They work Becky over for an age. Lacey goes for the double jump moonsault, but misses, and we have a double down. Bliss and Lacey get the tags as Bailey runs wild, and Sunset flips Alexa into the turnbuckles, but Lacey breaks up the pinfall attempt. She runs to the outside as Becky chases her and then pushes Nikki towards Becky. The distraction allows Lacey to hit the woman's right on Becky. Bailey grabs Lacey by the hair, but Alexa tries to O'Connor roll her, only for Bailey to switch places and do it to her. She kicks out, and Lacey hits the woman's right on Bailey. Alexa heads up top as Lacey blind tags in. Alexa eats the knees on a twisted Bliss attempt, but as Bailey is setting up for the Bailey to belly, Lacey spins her around and hits the woman's right for the win. This was fine. It was there. It was fine.
I can't complain about this match. It was fine. Fine with Lacey getting the win. It's okay.
Yeah.
See where it goes.
Building up the two title matches.
Fine. I'm fine with it.
So Shane is on his phone backstage as Sammy interrupts. He proposes that he auditioned for the role of special guest referee at the pay-per-view by reffing tonight's main event. He says a bunch of stuff about being on the outside of the ring as a referee to sort of call things down the middle, which Shane then repeats pretty much verbatim and asks what Sammy thinks. Sammy calls him a genius. This was a lot of fun. Just a suck-up heel getting what he wants from a totally delusional heel. Shane is what I imagine Vince is like in real life in the segment where Sammy literally tells him an idea. Shane regurgitates it to him word for word.
That was my idea.
And then Sammy goes, brilliant.
Yeah.
That must be how the writing meetings work with Vince.
Yeah. Yeah, like Vince will genuinely think he came up with the Shield.
Yeah.
And Punk's sat there at home going like, it was me.
It was me.
It was me all along, Austin. Oh no, that's wrong.
Sorry,
isn't it?
wrong person.
And it's wrong, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not. It wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that wrong there, haven't I? I've done that wrong.
Good stuff. So Paul Heyman cuts a very placeholder style promo because Brock isn't here this week.
Yeah.
I guess so that means teasing the cash in and not delivering only survives 4 straight shows. Never forget. He calls Seth a thug and refuses to divulge when Brock will cash in. Maybe denied it, maybe it's stomping grounds, but the key is they didn't tell us. They teased it, but they didn't tell us they were cashing in tonight.
It's almost
the streak is over.
the second streak that Brock's beaten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 24/7 rubbish continues, highlighted by EC3's total lack of cares to give.
How can
I didn't
they-
originally write total lack of cares. There was another word in there, but I can't say it on here.
How can they genuinely? Because the 24/7 stuff that they do on YouTube is hilarious.
This portion of it was quite funny. The being stuck in a lift all night was terrible, but this particular segment I actually enjoyed because EC3 basically invoked cannibalism, which was hilarious, and gets annoyed he hasn't been invited to Drake Maverick's upcoming nuptials, only to find out he's the best man. Which was just, like, EC3 goes, "You're getting married? Where was my invite?" And Drake goes, "You're the best man!" It did set us off. I enjoyed this part of the 24/7 stuff. But yes, you are correct. As a general rule, the stuff that they do on YouTube is far superior to what they do on the show.
I wonder what the connection with that
Yeah,
is.
probably Vince doesn't know what they're doing on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Or, in fact, anything else other than Monday Night Raw or SmackDown.
So we've got a very important segment next. The Iconics won a match.
Against?
They took on San Jose's finest. One girl, I swear, was wearing pajamas. I swear to God she was wearing pajamas.
I know.
Anyway, this is glorious jobbinish, like just to the greatest level you can possibly get. The Iconics win, as I said. Commentary managed to be so utterly insufferable that I couldn't concentrate on a match that lasted all of 60 seconds, if that.
Yeah.
They are just beyond infuriating. It's to the
They're
point where
all-
I want to watch matches on mute.
They're awful. But they either call the action badly or they don't call the action at all and talk about irrelevant stuff.
Or all of the above.
Yeah, it's
Somehow
just
at the
dreadful.
same time.
So that's the second win they've now got.
Yeah.
And
Both
it's-
against jobber
both
teams.
against jobbers.
Since Mania.
You know, we've got to keep Roman looking strong.
Yeah.
Okay. Got to make your champs look strong, right?
So we see highlights of Roman versus Shane from the Saudi show, and then Roman after the fact saying that Shane only won because of Drew, and he's ready for stomping grounds.
This happened. This happened.
And then Shane and Drew came out.
Hooray.
Shane puts over Roman, but says even with all that, he couldn't beat Shane. He says Roman shouldn't be ashamed of losing to the best in the world. Drew's training and emotional support helped Shane beat Roman. Drew promises to hurt and humiliate Roman at stomping grounds. Shane has champagne and pours some for him and Drew. He pours some in the best in the world trophy and drinks from that. He brings out the Revival but won't give them any drinks until they win the tag belts next.
This segment felt like it took forever. I don't know how long it went, right? Because I haven't checked, but when I was watching it, it was just like, oh my God, this is taking forever. Will Shane just... I find Shane so irritating that I want to turn off every single segment he's in, and not in a good way.
I am pretty sure in the picture dictionary now they've changed the picture of Go Away Heat to be Shane McMahon.
Is it now Shane McMahon heat?
Yeah.
Like
X-Pac Heat is now Shane McMahon
Can we
Heat.
stop being so nasty to X-Pac? Because X-Pac was awesome for the majority of his career.
So next up we had the aforementioned title match, which was Ryder and Hawkins versus the Usos versus the Revival. There is a back and forth battle early, but the Revival take Hawkins to the outside and slam him into the barricade to take control. They work quick tags until Jimmy tags in. He hits a dive and then a crossbody for 2. Samoan drop gets 2 as well before Hawkins tags himself in. Ryder comes in too and they hit a double team neck breaker for 2. Jimmy counters the Rough Rider as Jay tags in, but Ryder hits the Rough Rider on Jimmy. He eats a super kick from Jay for his troubles, as do Hawkins and Dash before another one lays out Ryder. Jay goes up top for the Superfly splash as Dawson blind tags in and steals the pin while Dash holds Jay's legs. Well, the Revival won the tag belts,
This came out of nowhere.
which is great, but they did it with a zero reaction. The crowd could not have cared less.
Do you blame them? It came out of
Match
nowhere.
was good, finish and stretch was fun.
But like, that's what we always say, right? The matches are actually pretty good in WWE. They've got great workers. They've got the best roster they've probably ever had. but you're given no reason to care. Like, why would you care about this match other than me and you really like the Revival and think that, like, along with the Bucks, the best tag team in the world? Like, why would you care outside of that?
Genuinely no idea.
And we're fairly hardcore fans. Well, we are. So obviously we like the Revival. But if you're a casual fan and you just go to the show, you don't know the Revival really that much compared to everybody else anyway.
You don't think playing stupid backstage games at a barbecue gets you over?
What?
To the casuals, I thought that was the key.
Yeah, and shaving, back shaving.
I remember Steve Austin's rise to stardom when he played sort of hula hoops backstage with Kane and Undertaker.
And back shaving and gay jokes.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah?
Totally.
That was how Austin got over.
Is how, there's no Austin 316 promo that I remember, but that's how I remember Stone Cold getting over.
And Rock got over by saying things like shucky ducky quack quack.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or suffering succotash, son.
Yeah. So Seth is interviewed by Rude Interviewer, who asks him about the challenge Sammy poses as the ref tonight. He says he is ready for anything, whether that be Brock, Corbin, or Sammy and Kevin. We get more 24/7 rubbish. And then we get the Firefly Funhouse. So Bray murders his rabbit puppet, feels bad about it, but...
only on Raw could you say that.
Yeah. So he murders his rabbit, but feels bad about it, but then the blood tastes good, so yeah. This was weird.
Like, arguably, right, you know, we're talking about AEW, right, in terms of being PG. Like, that is actually, like, that is not really PG. Like, you're actually advocating the drinking of people's blood.
We had advocation of murder and cannibalism early on the show with EC3 and a fork in a lift. So, you know.
Like, is Vince going edgy without any of us knowing?
Well, we did have that brief period where he was like, we need to get edgier because that's why the Attitude Era was so successful, ignoring the fact that he made superstars.
And we got loads of, like, boobs and Alexa being oddly provocative.
Yeah. Which thankfully didn't last too long because those were the worst parts of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, moving on. It was time for our main event, which was Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens in a non-title match. This got stupid early on.
Yep.
Seth got a series of pinfall attempts as Sammy distracted the ref. Sammy continually interfered until Owens could take full control. Seth eventually fought back and hit a sling blade, but Owens hit a gutbuster in reply. He went up top for the Swanton Bomb, but ate the knees. Owens cut off the suicide dive, and they then traded super kicks into a double down. Rollins went up top, but Sammy distracted him again, allowing Owens to get a 2 count. Rollins sent KO to the floor and followed with a suicide dive that wiped Owens out and sort of slightly brushed Zayn. So then back in, he hits the stomp, but at 2, Sammy pulled the ref out. They argued on the outside as Sammy wanted Rollins DQ'd for brushing past him on the suicide dive. Sammy got back in and checked on KO, but Seth grabbed him by the shirt, and then Sammy called for the DQ, and that was it. Like, just what? This was like, whatever. Right, let's get the post-match.
Benny Hill music.
And then we will destroy this match for what it was. So post-match, Seth beats Sammy down, and Corbin comes in and beats him down. Corbin grabs a chair, but Seth super kicks him in the stomach and grabs the chair. Corbin bails, so Seth wears Sammy out with the chair before hitting the stomp as Corbin watches on from the ramp. This was utterly horrendous. How do you mess up Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens? This is like, how? Absolute rubbish.
Overbooking to the maximum, this
sucked as a main event. And it's awful. Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens.
Yeah. Ring of Honor can book that.
Yeah. Like, I referred to it earlier.
Vince Russo could have booked that.
Their match at Salvation in 2010 was really, really good on a really, really underrated show. Yeah. And this was just absolute rubbish.
Yeah. Just send them out there and have them wrestle. Do a screwy finish if you want, but don't have it be like nonsense throughout. Like, I don't mind them doing a screwy finish because you want to keep Owens looking fairly strong because he's going to be facing Kofi, and obviously Rollins is the universal.
Because I think they've pulled that, haven't they?
Have they?
Well, Ziggler's the one getting the shot at the stomping grounds.
Oh, well, zero cares.
Yeah.
Now, but Rollins is obviously the Universal Champion, so he's got to be kept looking strong because, you know, you've got to keep your champs looking strong, WWE. So do a screwy finish if you like, but don't have it where it's just nonsense throughout the match, because then you are telegraphing to your audience, yeah, this is going to have a pointless end.
What makes no sense as well is that I don't even really think they had a justification for doing a screwy finish at all, because Owens and Zayn have been made to look like total non-threats on SmackDown. So
in that case, have it be a really competitive match, and have Rollins win, and that would actually do more for Owens than anything else.
I think the only reason this match was actually booked was so that you could do the Sammy referee stuff, so you can audition to be the ref at Stomping Grounds. Because God knows we need heel referee storylines in 2019.
Just so, because obviously, we do not film this, but I'm face palming very, very, very badly.
So not a good episode of Raw.
Not a good one. No,
there was some good stuff, but it was buried amongst the myriad of utter drivel.
You cannot polish a turd.
No, impossible. So Raw viewership this week. Raw did 2.13 million viewers, which was the lowest non-holiday number in modern history. This actually isn't as bad a number as I expected, given Game 5 of the NBA Finals did 18.22 million viewers. The show drew 2.38 million viewers for the first hour, which did not go head-to-head with the game. Then 2.09 million for hour 2.
That's a huge drop.
And 1.91 million for hour 3.
Below 2 million again.
Mitigating circumstances, but still a horrible number.
Still bad. Yeah. Still not good. And I know we keep saying this, and obviously, this podcast will continue on for quite some time now. When we get to football season,
it's going to be tragic,
because the NBA, right? What we need to make clear is that for anyone that is, from the UK or from the rest of the world that doesn't follow basketball, the NBA playoffs are quite a lot down this year in terms of how well they've drawn, purely because
finals did okay.
They did, but LeBron James, the biggest star in basketball,
was not in the playoffs.
So it's been massively down, and Raw has still been down when it's been in competition.
The thing is, the thing you've got to understand in terms of from a UK perspective, if you don't understand sort of the ratings and the viewership in America, is the NBA is the third biggest sport in America,
and the biggest is by far football.
So for a big Monday night game, if they open the season with, say, I haven't seen the schedule, but if they were to open the season with the Patriots and the Chiefs or something like that, and do that on Monday night, that would probably outdraw Game 5.
Yeah,
you're probably talking like around the 20 million mark. Yeah. So
because football is as popular as it has ever been in America, it is the number one sport by a country mile.
So you're looking at for an episode of Raw, it's going to be bad, and then for when there's big games on Monday night, you're going to be looking at viewerships like this.
And then if you get towards the playoffs and all that kind of stuff,
and to be honest, I think
will be down.
There might be more of a crossover between the WWE audience and the football audience, because clearly not that many people switched off. You're only talking about 300,000 left WWE to go and watch the basketball game. Mm-hmm. I would imagine there'd be more crossover between football fans and wrestling fans.
That's because basketball's 18 and 35. Mainly. Yeah. That people watch basketball. Whereas football is
everyone
across the generations.
But massively in the 55 plus as well.
Oh,
do really well in that. So with that, we will move on to SmackDown Live. We opened with Miz TV with Shane McMahon. Apparently, Miz has been forced to host this show. Miz has a script to follow but deliberately mispronounces words. Shane comes out with Elias and Drew in tow, and Greg does his special announcement. Shane says he beat Reigns because he's the best in the world, but Miz claims all of Shane's victories are tainted. Drew says Roman lets his emotions get the best of him, and in 2 weeks he will kick Roman's head off. Miz calls Drew Shane's lackey. Shane says he has Miz's number, and Miz resents him for that. Shane offers him another shot if he can beat Elias and Drew. Same old, same old.
Yeah, absolutely. Same old, same old. I'm just sick of these opening segments, and
Shane.
I'm also becoming increasingly sick of these interview segments. Back when it was the highlight reel, it was awesome, but apart from the highlight reel, has anyone done them half as well?
I tend
Cutting
to
Edge
like
was
the Cutting
okay.
Edge, yeah.
But
the Peep Show was fun.
Yeah, Peep Show was okay, but really, nothing comes even close to the highlight reel.
No, the highlight reel's
because it's Jericho.
The watermark.
Yeah, so can they just, Miz's just sucks. Can they just stop doing it? Because all it is an excuse for an extended talk in the segment. Yeah. And also Shane sucks. Just take him off my TV.
Well, with that in mind, next up we had Miz versus Elias. This was mercifully brief. Elias hits a knee strike for 2, and then Miz counters, drift away only to be caught with a powerbomb. Elias goes for the top rope elbow drop, but Miz moves and hits the skull-crushing finale for the win. So with that, we move on to Drew versus Miz. So it started immediately as Drew just attacked Miz. Miz fights back and sends McIntyre into the post before attacking on the floor. He goes for some type of springboard move, but completely botches it and just crotches himself on the ropes on the other side of the ring. Mm-hmm. They did cover it well, though, and Miz hit the grounded DDT. Shane involves himself with the distraction, and that allows McIntyre to hit a headbutt and then the Claymore for the win. And then we had Shane versus Miz anyway, because Shane just said, I'm going to offer you the match anyway. He unloads some crap punches, but Miz fights back. He goes for the skull-crushing finale, but Shane runs him throat first into the ropes. A big boot, and then the awful inverted triangle, and Miz taps out. What a loser. Shane is a plague.
Yeah, and Miz is a geek and a loser and a stupid babyface and had no friends to come out and help him either. Like, where was Roman? Roman, who supposedly is friends with Miz because they both hate Shane. It's just awful. Like, and the more that you watch all this stuff and the way that they're pushing Shane, like, it really does make sense, doesn't it? Like, they're pushing Shane so strong.
If they've booked, the one thing I can say they've done well this year is how they've booked Kofi. If they've booked Kofi so well
strong so that
for this long, just to have Shane beat him, I will be like. This show doesn't get me angry much anymore because I don't have the requisite cares.
I don't care enough. No,
but I swear on my life, if Shane beats Kofi, I will be infuriated. Yeah. Absolutely infuriated.
That'll be genius.
Well, in the worst possible way.
It'll be hilarious. It's like comedy gold. It would be like, you know, like how we always joke about what you would do if you were like spoof booking WWE. Like if we were spoof booking WWE
when we had Steph pin Hunter for the world title in bed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because but Hunter was annoyed because Hunter.
No, Hunter kicked out at 2 because
he did.
Job to anyone.
Hunter doesn't lie down for anybody.
That was fun.
It was, yeah.
We were quite drunk when we were booking that.
We were.
Yeah.
We
decided to try and book the worst possible wrestling show ever. We should do that as a final segment.
Vince Russo did it already, to be fair.
True.
Vince McMahon is currently giving it a really good go.
So we get some Mean Girl action backstage because that's not overdone in wrestling, which featured Sonya and Mandy with Ember. They tease her and Sonya knocks her Nintendo whatever out of her hands. Ember throws a bin at a wall. And then next up we had the Planet Champions come out, and they're going to have a unification match with the YOLO County Tag Champs. Yes, the YOLO County Tag Champs.
Yeah, this happened.
Yeah. So Rowan is wearing an Ailstorm t-shirt, which basically makes him a top babyface in my eyes. Before they can get going, Heavy Machinery interrupt. They call Brian an elitist. This has Vince all over it. Those damn elitists trying to make our air clean to breathe.
Commie.
Yeah, they claim Brian and Rowan are dodging them, so Brian tells them to earn their shot by facing the jobbers. This was relatively fun. Tucker destroyed Jobber A, sent Jobber B to the outside and tagged in Otis, who hit the Caterpillar. A pop-up variant of the compactor finished things. Perfectly fine. Nice way to keep building the Heavy Machinery versus the Planet Champions, which by all accounts should be quite a lot of fun.
It should be good. Yeah.
I can't wait to see Otis and Brian because I think in ring they could have some insane chemistry and charisma and like they could do some really fun sequences.
I'm just not giving a lot of reason to care, but like I care because I know it'll be good.
But this is actively one of the best things on the show.
Yeah.
You don't care about it, but it is actively one of the best things on the show.
Which is
just because of how bad everything else is.
It's one of the best things in the company right now.
No, without doubt. Yeah. And you know what?
What is the best thing?
I'd completely forgotten about it as well because Brian refusing to go to Saudi Arabia means he's not been on TV for like 4 weeks.
Yeah. What is the best thing on in the company right now?
It depends on what you mean by best in terms of what do I find the most entertaining. I would probably say, consistently over the past few weeks, probably the Cesaro Ricochet stuff.
My God.
In terms of like what is the most well booked thing, I'd still say Kofi.
Yeah.
But,
how bad's that? How bad is that?
Yeah. There's not a lot good on these shows. So we get more 24/7 rubbish. And then we get Sonya Deville versus Carmella. Sonya hits some nice knee strikes and gets a couple of near falls. Carmella gets the Code of Silence, but Mandy puts Sonya's foot on the ropes. Carmella dumps Sonya to the outside and hits a Tope Suicida. Mandy pulls Carmella off the apron but eats a super kick. When Carmella climbs in the ring, Sonya hits a step-up knee strike for the win. Really nice looking step-up knee strike as well.
It was as well.
This was a bit overbooked, but I guess we're getting Fire and Desire versus Ember and Carmella going forward, which works. I like that these women are actually getting something to do outside the title picture. Outside the tag title picture, which, to be fair, doesn't really exist because it's just the Iconics lose every week, but nobody ever challenges them.
There is no tag division.
But, I do like that these women are getting something to do outside the normal SmackDown women's title picture.
I just don't like that it's entirely based on
Mean Girls stuff,
Ember's Nintendo Switch getting broken.
Was it a Nintendo Switch? Was that what it was?
Yes.
Right, okay.
And that,
I'm so out of the loop with handheld devices these days. I have no idea what it was.
I just can't believe that was what the whole storyline is starting.
And Mandy's been on Muscle and Fitness,
like,
which is what real women do.
We are not that far away from someone spilling a Diet Pepsi.
Oh, God.
We're not that far away.
You spilled my Diet Pepsi, John.
Oh.
Yeah, it actually works as
John, my diet soda! That was where it all started. Really, one of the best... the joint best feud and rivalry that Cena ever had started from a diet soda. Yeah. John, my diet soda.
Good stuff.
I miss Punk so much.
Alexa is backstage when Nikki approaches. Alexa manipulates Nikki by claiming that people said hateful things about her on social media after Monday's Raw. She says Bayley even liked one of the tweets, but when Nikki asks to see it, Alexa claims not to be able to show her because she has blocked Bayley. Nikki, being the gullible babyface, buys this once Alexa says Nikki will face Bayley tonight. The New Day are out tonight and Big E is back. He says, your boy is back again. They have a match tonight, but it will end quick so Xavier can get back to E3, because God knows I'd rather be watching E3 than watching this show.
Yep.
Yeah. They'll win tonight, and at Stomping Grounds, Kofi will beat Dolph again. Dolph comes out and says Kofi betrayed the fans by cheating to win on Friday. He says at Stomping Grounds, Kofi will have no help and that it will be Dolph.
He's not wrong.
Kofi tries to counteract the stupidity of the booking of Friday's match by saying Dolph had it coming because he attacked Xavier first.
Yeah.
Babyface.
Babyface is in 2019.
Sammy and KO are here and run down Kofi and the fans, saying the fans are hypocrites when it comes to justice. Big E says they enjoyed the beating Seth gave Sammy last night. Sammy says he wants Seth suspended, and Dolph calls Kofi the biggest hypocrite of all time. Kofi promises to retain his title at Stomping Grounds. Like, this achieved zero. This added nothing to anything apart from we found out Big E is back, which is cool.
Did Dolph just become the babyface of the storyline?
No, nobody's a babyface in this company. It's heel versus heel in every matchup.
It's just awful. But this is one of the worst SmackDowns ever.
It was really bad. I think this was the top of the first hour, which was by far and away the worst hour. The second hour wasn't too bad, but the worst hour was absolutely diabolically bad. Mm-hmm. And to cap it off, the creme de la creme, more stupidity as they try their best to botch Aleister Black of all people. Nobody answered his challenge, so he opens a door and yells out wanting someone to fight him. Leave the room! Go fight somebody!
Just ask Shane for a match! It's not, if you really want a match so bad, go ask Vince!
If you want a match so bad, don't even ask anybody. Just go out and attack somebody.
Or better yet, save us all and go back to NXT! Just save your career, Aleister.
Well,
can they all just go to AEW?
There has been a lot of people going back to NXT.
Can they just all do it? Yeah. Can Raw and SmackDown
cease to be and 205 Live and NXT become the main shows?
And everyone that can't fit in there goes to AEW, and then wrestling and then those that can't go there.
No, because then Vince becomes interested in 205 Live and NXT, and they become insufferable the way Raw and SmackDown is.
And then everyone that can't fit in there goes to New Japan, and then wrestling's just fun and nice again.
Okay.
It's just like,
Jonathan, go for a lie down.
It makes my head hurt.
So, we next had Bayley versus Nikki. Alexa is in Nikki's corner. This was a decent 5-minute TV match. They fought back and forth for a while, with Nikki not exactly working babyface, but not working heel either. Bayley stunners Nikki on the ropes. Nikki fights off the Bayley to belly, but gets caught with a German. A distraction from Alexa allows Nikki to get a 2 count, but Bayley fights back and hits the top rope elbow drop for the win. It was fine. It was decent. As 5-minute matches go, this is pretty good.
It was fine. Yeah. I'm just starting to get a bit annoyed more and more by the whole Nikki is an idiot.
But she's a babyface, so she has to be an idiot. All babyfaces are idiots. This is a long-established trope in this company.
Yeah. Do you remember when the babyface used to be smart?
No.
And could see what the heels were doing?
No.
In wrestling?
No.
And when they were suckered in, it then meant more. So Sting and the Horsemen meant more.
You know what the problem is now as well? You've now got to the point where they've trained their audience to feel like babyfaces should be idiots. So when babyfaces are smart, they're now thought of as heels. You remember the whole thing when they were building up Gargano and Ciampa in NXT at Mania weekend, and people were like, "Oh, Johnny's pure heel."
Yeah.
No, he was being a smart babyface.
Yeah, he was.
He was doing what he had to do to get to Ciampa because that's what a smart babyface does to get his revenge.
Yeah, I agree.
But because they've trained them that babyfaces should be idiots and should not do any of the things that Johnny did, people thought he was a heel.
Yeah, and all it was character development that Johnny had become smarter. But what I'm saying is, like, when they are stupid and then they do get suckered in, it meant more. So, like, when Sting was attacked by the Horseman, it meant so much because you were like, well,
Sting consistently was stupid, wasn't it?
No, but you know, back then it meant more because you're like, well, they're not all idiots. You know, but Sting would always get turned on by Flair. But, you know.
And everybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody and the dog turns on Sting. So Kayla interviews Apollo. He talks about Andrade's attack last week and wants revenge. Zelina tips up and basically says Andrade wants to end Apollo's career and he's in a bad mood after Friday. Chad Gable is taking notes for, like, why? He was just there and the camera panned to him and he's just taking notes and smiling at Apollo.
Chad Gable's career has been saved, though.
Yeah, it has.
So we'll
get
talk
to
about that later.
I'd just like to say at this point that our thoughts go out to Andrade, whose mother passed away this week, and that's why he wasn't at SmackDown. So
Absolutely.
Our thoughts absolutely go out to Andrade. And next up, we had the main event of New Day versus Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Dolph Ziggler. This was your bog standard SmackDown main event. Nothing wrong with it, just kind of there.
Nothing happened.
The babyfaces showed some fire early before the heels took control. Kofi eventually got a hot tag to Xavier, who ran wild on Dolph and Sami. Owens distracted the ref, though, allowing the heels to regain control with Dolph crotching Xavier. They worked over Xavier for an age until he managed to hit a DDT and get the hot tag to Big E, who hit multiple suplexes before hitting the running splash on Dolph. The Tope Spear was blocked and Big E tagged in Kofi. Zayn came to Dolph's aid, but Dolph accidentally superkicked him. Kofi had trouble in paradise, and then another for the pin and the win. This was, like I said, there.
It happened.
It was fine.
It
was
ended what was an absolutely shocking SmackDown.
Yeah. By the end, like, I had to watch it. We were on the phone the other night because you asked me if I wanted to come round, and I said if we were recording the podcast, I hadn't done my notes yet.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to you how far the shows were, and I actually said to you I'd had to stop watching SmackDown halfway through because it was so bad. I just couldn't bring myself to keep watching.
Yeah.
Like, this show was so bad this week. I actually had, it was only an hour in, and I was like, nah, I'm done.
I can't
watch any more of this. I need to go and do something else and take myself away because I was getting, like, severely depressed about life.
Like genuinely, like, is this the worst? You know, since we've been recording, is this the worst Raw and SmackDown together?
Yes, because I
There's always been one that's been a bit better.
I remember the start of the year, Raw was bad, not as bad as it is now, but it was
SmackDown
bad.
Was
but SmackDown actually was probably the best TV show in the month of January, like, worldwide. If anybody, like, it was better than NXT in January. LU's finished. It was better than anything ROH were doing on a weekly basis or TNA were doing on a weekly basis. So for a while at the start of the year, SmackDown was actually the best show going, and that was why we started the whole #Watch SmackDown thing.
Yeah, hashtag do not watch SmackDown
at the minute.
Hashtag don't watch WWE right now. NXT and 205 Live are fine though.
Yeah. So, like we said, SmackDown was awful. The first hour was deplorably bad, if I can get my words out. And there is no reason in 2019 to spend over a quarter of your airtime on Shane McMahon.
Is that how much it was?
Because it was about 35 minutes before the Shane stuff ended. So they spent over a quarter of SmackDown just on Shane.
I wouldn't have done that in 1999.
Yeah.
Like, in 1999?
No.
You wouldn't have done that? And Shane was really entertaining in 1999.
So, way worse than a below-average Raw. Yay!
Oh.
So, SmackDown viewership. SmackDown was down 4% this week as the show drew 1.93 million viewers, which is low, but not among the worst of all time. They retain 90% of Raw's audience, but against vastly less competition with no NBA finals. That's pretty tragic. Like, they probably should have beaten Raw this week, to be fair.
Yeah.
They probably should have.
Yeah.
But whatever.
It shows how bad SmackDown is.
Yeah.
Just...
awful.
I am running out of words, like, for how bad this all is.
I genuinely think you made a good point earlier when you said this was one of the worst SmackDowns ever.
Yeah.
I can't remember a worse one. Worse, like, bad SmackDowns don't stand out to me as much as bad Raws do, but I genuinely can't think of a SmackDown as bad as this.
And I remember how much I loved when SmackDown first went live again and they first started the brand split. I loved SmackDown.
SmackDown was great.
It was great, entertaining. It felt like the wrestling show again.
Yeah, it felt totally different as well to Raw.
Now it feels exactly the same, but shorter, but somehow worse.
Yeah.
Being shorter just sucks. And, like, we are getting to the point where, like, I am finding it really hard to watch these shows because of how bad they are.
So with that, we will move on to something actually good, NXT.
Thank God.
We open with Io and Candice versus Jessamine and Marina. Shayna comes out with her pals, but stays at the top of the ramp. Candice almost picks up the immediate win over Jessamine with a roll-up at the start. Marina tags in, but Candice just schools her. She continues to run wild until Jessamine provides a distraction, allowing Marina to take control. They work a pretty bad heat segment, to be honest, on Candice. Candice hits a beautiful enziguri on Jessamine and gets the hot tag to Io. She runs wild and hits the 813. She goes for a springboard, but Marina pulls her down. Io kicks her off and hits the springboard shotgun dropkick anyway. Io hits the Dakota Kai stomp as Shayna gets very angry because that's her move. The double knees in the corner follow and Io heads up for the moonsault, but Shayna pulls Jessamine out of the ring, so Io changes direction and moonsaults onto Shayna instead. She lays a beating to Shayna as Candice hits a tope suicida onto the other two. The five brawl on the outside until the ref throws the match out. They continue to wildly brawl as randoms try to separate them. The post-match angle was really good, but Jessamine and Marina are still not very good. Candice and, in particular, Io were very good, though.
Yes. Like, it was more than decent match.
It's just, I just look at Marina and Jessamine and just think you're not ready to be in a ring yet.
They're not, no, but they work very, very well within their act, so I totally get why they are on TV.
As accompaniments for Shayna, they're great, but just, like, watching them in this match, they weren't good at all.
No, they're not ready.
No.
But it was decent enough.
Yeah. Candice and Io definitely carried the match.
Yeah.
So we see highlights of Dream versus Breeze and then get a selfie promo from Dream where he puts himself over and tells everyone else to dream on.
Awesome.
We get another Damian Priest vignette. He's here next week. And then we get one of my favourite things on WWE TV this week, a submission match between Kushida and Drew Gulak. We actually got a Yoshihiro Takayama versus Don Fry from Pride reference in this match, which is one of the most violent things I've ever seen.
Who made that reference?
It would have been Mauro.
No way!
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Out of all of the commentary team, that's the one I wouldn't have thought.
It was the Takayama Fry fight from Pride 21, which, like I said, is one of the most violent things I've ever seen.
Yoshihiro Takayama was awesome.
I would just caution anybody who does want to go out and seek that, because it is, I guess, in some ways interesting, but it is very, very violent. Because
and obviously, what's
unlike what you see in sort of what I'll call cultured MMA fights now, Don Fry and Takayama literally, they hockey fight essentially. They both just put the hand on each other's shoulder and just start wailing on each other for about 6 minutes. It's very violent.
Yeah, it is. It's more like a fight. But if you haven't seen Yoshihiro Takayama as a wrestler, go and find him on YouTube. He
heavily decorated.
He was absolutely fantastic. Wrestled in New Japan, All Japan, Noah, all over the place. Big Mouth Loud.
Was actually one of, and this kind of plays into our final segment this week, but he was actually one of Misawa's favourite workers, which is, you can't get much more of a kudos than that when Misawa says he's one of his favourite workers. He
was one of the first, not the first, but one of the first GHC champions.
When
I believe
Misawa established Noah.
He faced Misawa in the final for the belt the first time, I believe.
And lost, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
But he won it not long after.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the actual match at hand. This was, as expected, very technical and saw a lot of mat work. It was really well worked with Kushida targeting the arm. Gulak cut him off though and locked on a gory special before transitioning into the Samoa Joe variant of the Boston Crab, but Kushida escaped. Kushida fired back and ran wild, hitting a lot of his signature moves, including the cartwheel dropkick. They traded ankle locks and Gulak got his in deep. Eventually they traded strikes from their knees before Kushida hit a throat punch and a handspring elbow before hitting the PK and locking on the hoverboard lock for the submission victory. Post-match, they shake hands with a bit of tension still showing. This was totally different to anything else you would normally see on WWE TV, even in NXT, and it was just super refreshing. It was just so different.
Yeah.
And these two are so good at this style.
Technical, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I loved this. I thought it was great. I'm not going to go out there and say it was one of the best matches of the year or anything like that.
But go and seek it out.
It was just so refreshing, so definitely a recommended match this.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're both really capable of doing this style. So, and Kushida has all the technical background in the world, was MMA that he did when he was younger, so yeah.
So Aaliyah and Vanessa Bourne mock Mia Yim in the car park. Their acting is beyond awful. Why are they still trying to make these two work? They suck. They just suck.
They are dreadful. Make them be getting viewers or something.
No, don't even do that. Just get them off TV, please. Io versus Shayna inside a steel cage is happening in 2 weeks, and we then see highlights of Mansoor winning the Battle Royal at the Saudi show. And then it's time for our main event, which is Undisputed Era versus Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan. So the reason why they had to do the injury angle with Fish last week that we talked about and said we hoped he wasn't too hurt was actually because this was taped before TakeOver and before Fish had recovered from an injury he came down with on a house show. So Bobby Fish is okay, and that's great news.
Lovely.
So this was everything you'd expect from these two teams and was completely balls to the wall from the very start. There was a really fun spot as O'Reilly and Lorcan just get into an intense like hockey fight, and then Roddy and Burch come in and brawled too, and the crowd just went nuts for it. Lawton and Birch take control as they double-team Kyle, but he fights back and Roddy runs wild with chops and backbreakers. O'Reilly joins in too and they work some double teams. Lawton hits some uppercuts and then they go back and forth until Lawton hits a running blockbuster. Birch runs wild on Roddy and then O'Reilly and locks the crossface on, but Roddy makes the save. O'Reilly levels Birch with the Nigel. They hit the chop variant of chasing the dragon, but Lawton makes the save too. It completely breaks down, and then Jackson Ryder appears. He brawls with security, and O'Reilly and Strong are distracted by this, allowing Birch to roll up O'Reilly for the win. This was a fun main event. They worked a style that suits both teams and protected Undisputed Era while setting Lawton and Birch up for presumably a title shot against the Street Profits.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I do wonder whether we're working towards Undisputed Era holding all the titles at some point soon.
Quite possibly.
I think it's time for that to happen now, for them to dominate NXT. They keep saying how it's going to be their year. They've always said it all year. Like, I think it's time now to have the full, like, this is NXT. Like, Undisputed Era are NXT, and have the full NWO, we control the whole thing storyline.
Would not be against that.
And then
at
you could
all,
do like a
because
NXT.
Those guys rule.
And you could do an NXT against Undisputed Era storyline for the rest of the year. You could do War Games.
Yeah.
It would be perfect.
You could even do.
Be perfect.
Do you remember when NWO first started and they did their own shows?
Yeah, you could do it. Yeah,
you could do an Undisputed Era show. And the only reason I say this, and this is so minor that I don't even really want to put a spoiler warning in, but I'll put a spoiler warning in. NXT did some taping, so if you don't want to hear anything about it, skip about 30 seconds forward. I'm not going to reveal anything from the matches or anything like that, but there is a point where Cole comes out and there is an NXT opening sequence which just features Undisputed Era. There's literally nobody else in, so it's like the usual NXT opening, but just with Undisputed Era, and I was just like, that is good stuff, lads.
Yeah, for life.
Absolutely.
They're awesome.
And with that, we move on to the best show in WWE this week.
Oh, and yeah,
205 Live.
Oh, it was amazing.
So we open with the usual Drake Maverick video as he hypes tonight's matches and puts the onus on the talent so his judgment won't be questioned. And then we start with Jack Gallagher, and he's waiting in the ring for his opponent. And who is it? It's Chad Gable.
Gable. Oh, they've saved his career.
This is awesome. They work a very mat-based European style mixed with amateur style early on, as you might expect from the two people involved in this match. They exchange monkey flips, constantly keeping control and work into the double pin attempt with a double bridge to end things. Gable hits a lovely looking takedown, but Gallagher fights back with a dropkick. Gallagher takes control and works a really nice heat segment. Gable battles back and hits a number of suplexes before finishing with a beautiful dragon suplex for 2. They trade submission attempts before Gable hits a rough-looking tiger driver complete with jackknife-esque bridge. Gallagher annihilates Gable with a lariat. He goes for a tope suicida, but Gable catches him and hits an inside-out German on the floor. Gallagher almost gets in, but collapses at 8, and then is almost in, but just fails to beat the count. The finish was a little flat, because I think Meltzer's reported that Gallagher was actually meant to get back in the match, but in the ring and beat the count, and the match was meant to continue. And I'm not questioning him, because he's got sources in WWE, and we do not. But when I saw it... No, we don't. But when I saw it, I thought Gallagher was meant to, like, just try and beat it and totally beat it, but got up slightly too early and then had to kind of like stop himself from getting in. So I don't think he was meant to beat the count.
That would surprise me, because like if you're gonna beat the count, you don't cut it that fine.
Yeah,
you really don't.
Well, not even if you do. Like Gallagher could have beaten the count.
Yeah, he could have. He was up in time.
He was up in time, but he like started to slide in, and then was like, God, he's not there yet, and he kind of hung around and sat in the same place for a second, and then as soon as Kyoto counted 10, he rolled in. So it didn't seem like that to me, but either way, the finish was a bit flat, but this was a fun match, and similar to Kushida and Gulak in that it was very different from the style we're used to seeing. And you know what? Variety is the spice of life.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I loved this match. I'm so glad that Gable's on 205 Live. I think they should be booking him towards the title.
I'll strap the rocket to him, brother.
In the next 8 months or so, he'd be brilliant, either as a heel or a babyface champion. He'd be great. It'll revitalise his career. And watching him, I started, like, we've always had the Kurt Angle vibes, but I started to get a little bit of like Dean Malenko-ish type stuff watching him. I thought it was really, really good, and I'm very, very happy because first off, I think it's great for Gable, but we've spoken about how 205 Live's felt a little bit starved of star talent. Well, now it's got absolute star talent in Chad Gable. And my show's getting healthier again.
Just send Murphy and Cedric back.
Yeah, and then 205 Live set.
205 Live set.
Yeah, because Cedric Alexander keeps saying how much he misses 205 Live.
Do you blame him?
Nope. Or Murphy. Like, where is we don't blame Murphy.
He has certainly gone back to becoming the best kept secret in WWE.
Yeah,
he's certainly gone back to that because we don't see him.
No,
he's a very well kept secret.
Awful.
So Mike and Maria visit Drake backstage and complain about not getting to be in the number one contenders match tonight and not getting to face top talent like Chad Gable. Drake gives them what for and references their contract status on TV for the first time before Maria tells him to forget about the 24/7 title and do his job. Noam Dar says Gulak's attack last week proved 205 Live is an unsafe work environment, and if we're not careful he'll go to NXT UK permanently. Not sure how big a loss that would be, to be honest. And then we got the only thing on the show that kind of sucked, which was the Things versus Dos Locals. I love a good squash match, as I have established several times throughout the history of this podcast, and
Absolutely.
twice on this particular podcast.
Yeah, we love good squash. Love a good squash match.
Yeah, but the Things managed to even make a squash long, boring, and devoid of any heat. They win what felt painfully long, but probably only went 2 minutes after the Bollywood blast. The only entertaining thing about this match was Nigel on commentary. Consistently, like one of the guys he named El Hijo del El Hijo del El Hijo del El Hijo del Son, or something like that.
That means the son of 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 the son.
The actual son, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he called him. And then the commentary was actually quite funny in this because I think it was Aiden and who's the play-by-play guy?
Oh.
It's not Rich, it's not Tom, it's
Vic.
I can't believe it. Vic Joseph.
Vic Joseph.
Yeah. So Vic was like, he kept making Nigel repeat the names as well, and he was like, what were their names again? So that was literally the only entertaining thing about the entire segment because the match was boring as hell.
That would never get through on Raw or SmackDown, would it?
It would not. But, well, you know what? If it did, they'd overly laugh at it and make it stupid and overdo it and just be like, oh, aren't we so funny? This didn't feel like the commentators trying to get themselves over. It was just Nigel being a heel and being like totally nasty to the jobbers, and Vic and Aiden putting him on the spot for it and trying to call him out
and winding him up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So one thing that didn't suck was the main event, which was absolutely awesome. So it was a number one contenders match between Drew Gulak, Akira Tozawa, Humberto Carrillo, and Oney Lorcan. This one starts off wild with everyone taking turns to take control. We get a fourth gun reunion as Drew and Oney team up to take down Tozawa before starting to battle with each other. Carrillo comes back in but gets caught with a lariat by Gulak for 2. A German gets another near fall and a suplex gets 1-2. Gulak maintains control of the ring, beating down Carrillo and stopping anyone getting back in. Tozawa and Carrillo fight him off and then double super kick Gulak before Tozawa super kicks Carrillo in just a spot I absolutely loved. And then sets up for the senton, but Lorcan crotches him. Oney hits the half and half suplex on Carrillo onto Gulak before pinning Gulak, but Tozawa saves the match with a senton onto the cover. They all battle to the apron and Carrillo wins the battle. Tozawa cannonballs off the apron onto Gulak and got severe height on that cannonball. And then Carrillo hits a beautiful twisting tope con hilo onto Lorcan as the crowd goes absolutely wild. Tozawa and Humberto battle in the ring until Lorcan hits a double running blockbuster. Lorcan and Gulak brawl hard in an awesome sequence, which wouldn't have been out of place in a Japanese match. Lorcan ducks a couple of lariat attempts from Gulak and then hits a tope con hilo onto Carrillo and Tozawa. Arya Daivari comes out though and waffles Lorcan with a chair. Tozawa hits Trouble in Paradise on Carrillo, but when he goes up for the senton, Carrillo crotches him. Carrillo heads up top too, but Gulak is back in and pushes Humberto to the outside. He heads up top and they battle before Gulak hits a superplex on Tozawa. They cradle each other and it's a double pinfall. There is some confusion as the referees debate things and Drake Maverick comes out. The referees have different opinions on who won and raise each guy's hand. The show ends without an official winner as the crowd chants rock, paper, scissors. This was a phenomenal main event. Really good stuff. I absolutely loved this match. The match was so good it got a previously dead audience completely into the match. They were going nuts for everything towards the end. They were cheering Tozawa when his hand was being raised and booing Gulak. This is what I want 205 Live to be. I want people to care. I want main events like this. 205 Live's not been bad recently, but this
was a level above.
This was the best 205 Live I've seen in months.
Yeah, I agree.
Super, super entertaining. Great opening match between Gable and Gallagher. Great main event. triple threat match probably coming for the title, or
either
potentially,
that or a decision match.
A decision match between the. Oh, that was very Japanese of you there, Jonathan.
Decision match. Special single match.
Yes.
Yeah, I loved this match. I loved every little bit of it. I thought it was perfect. The only thing I didn't like was Daivari, but it was a way to get.
Yeah, and they're clearly continuing the Daivari-Lorcan feud because the idea was Lorcan beating Daivari last week was what got Lorcan into this match and kept Daivari out. So it was at least it made sense.
And it was a way to sort of, protect Lorcan. So I didn't dislike it. It was just a bit...
I loved the Lorcan Gulak stuff.
And I loved the finish, and I always love in 205 Live whenever they get the crowd into it, because the crowd couldn't care less. But whenever they get into 205 Live, they suddenly go like massively loud because they sort of wake up and go like, oh yeah, this is better than what I'm going to see later on, or what I've just seen.
Yeah, like I watched SmackDown, and I'm pretty sure the 205 Live main event was the loudest thing
the show.
The crowd reacted to on either show.
Yeah. 205 Live's the best show they do.
Yeah.
205
Live and NXT, yeah. I think NXT is generally better, but 205 was certainly the better show this week, and both are awesome, so we're splitting hairs.
Yes.
So with that, we will move on to any other business, but before that, I've just realised we've not done a segment of the week, so what do we give it to this week, Jonathan?
Oh, dear me. Oh...
What about the Tony Nese segment that I'm just going to shoe on in here because I've
because
totally forgotten to recap
it.
So, before that main event,
there was a Tony
Sarah
Nese segment,
Shiver interviewed Tony Nese. He says he wanted to test himself against Akira Tozawa, but congratulates Maverick on finally making the decision and says that he feels ready to face anyone in that fatal four-way.
I really want to give that segment of the week
it to the end because this was segment of the week. That's why I saved it to the end.
This is our segment of the week,
yes,
definitely.
Yes, and this was certainly planned, and I took it out of the show so we could recap it at the end to give it the proper segment of the week treatment.
I didn't know, but I will trust that was exactly what you meant, and you haven't simply just screwed up because you forgot to put it in.
Not at all. I would never do that.
No.
So with that, we will move on to any other business very quick.
Hey. Can we start again? No, this is live.
We're live, brother. So, Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega is official for All Out.
Wow. Take all of my money.
This should be awesome. Going to be interesting to see how they book this, though.
Right, so we've discussed this already.
Moxley's obviously having at least one, maybe two matches in AEW before then, but that's his first big match, and it's his first match on what will be a pay-per-view.
But Omega can't lose two big matches.
Surely Omega can't lose two big matches back to back.
I keep thinking that this is going to be the main event. Oh no, it won't be the main event.
No, it won't be the main event.
No, it won't be the main event.
Jericho Page will main event.
No, of course I forgot it was the same show. Right, because I keep thinking, right, if there is a way to get out of this match, but yet still deliver the match and still make people think, oh, that was awesome at the end of it. You know what I'm thinking, right?
Punk, yeah.
Like, it's a screwy finish, but you tell me if you do this, there's going to be people complaining.
I'm not saying people would be upset about it, but if I was them, because they're trying to be this cool alternative that delivers what they promise, I would go out of my way not to do screwy finishes for at least the first sort of 6 months or so.
They have enough goodwill though already.
I get that, but I just
tell me people aren't going to be like, that was awesome.
It's not something I would do before I went on TV, to be honest, like do a screwy finish like that. I'd want to build up my TV audience, showcase that
you're going to get clean finishes properly,
of the time. Yeah, and when we do screwy finishes, they're going to matter. But, I mean, I'm not saying I'd be against it. I'm just saying I would be a little reticent to do it.
It's a ballsy move to do it this early and to
be honest, I think I'd save Punk for TV to try and really.
We've said if it was me, I'd either do is All Out the last one before they go on TV.
Unless they announce something else, it's the last announced show before they go on TV.
So if
that's August 31st, and they go on TV sometime in October, I believe.
Yeah. So I've kept saying that if it was me, I would do it either on the last show before they go on TV to draw more people in, or you do it at the end of the first episode for people to be like, oh wow, I have to tune in next week because what on earth is going to happen?
Which is where I'd do it. I'd do the Nitro ending,
final segment,
the Nitro ending we rip off for this podcast at the end of every podcast.
Yeah. Have the if whoever wins the title, have them defend it on the first.
That is exactly what I was about to say.
And then at the end, Punk comes out face to face. I'm sorry, we're out of time.
So say Jericho wins the title at All Out, have him defend against, and it doesn't have to be, I wouldn't throw away a massive match, but I'd but I'd do a relatively big match.
Like Cody.
You could do Cody, that would be a good idea. You could do I'm trying to think of somebody in the upper mid card. You could do something like you could do Joey Janela, somebody like that in the somebody who's going to be in the echelon
MJF.
of the upper. You could do him,
no,
but
it's
it's heel,
heel.
but like a babyface but MJF's level, but a babyface. You could do that in the main event. Cody probably is perfect.
You know what you could do? It would be quite cool. You could do Jungle Boy.
Oh, Jungle Boy
that
would be
get
awesome
over,
as well.
you know.
Yeah.
That would
Jungle
get
Boy
over.
would be awesome. And then Jericho wins
Jericho.
a hard-fought match. Clean, though, but he wins a hard-fought match. And then at the end, he's standing there and he's raising the title saying, I am going to dominate AEW. You know, I am the only reason this company exists. Typical Jericho stuff. And then all of a sudden, it would be amazing if Miseria Kantara hit, Punk comes out and that but then all of a sudden he gets face to face with Jericho and the trash talking between, and then all of a sudden JR goes, sorry folks, we're out of time, we'll see you next week on Tuesday Night Dynamite or whatever they're going to call the show.
Because the crowd's just going to go and CM Punk, CM Punk.
Yeah. That's what I do. Awesome. We're getting ahead of ourselves because we've no idea whether Punk's coming back.
And this morning Punk was actually calling, this morning or last night in America was calling an MMA show. Like he was doing the first time he's been an announcer for it, so Punk is still doing other stuff. So we'll see.
Let's not get too excited.
No.
Anyway, we'll move on. So Jun Akiyama has announced that there will be a memorial show for Atsushi Aoki on the 11th of August in Korakuen, and Aoki will posthumously remain junior champ until November, which is nice.
I really hope Kenta can turn up for that. I know obviously he's going to be with New Japan as well, but it could be really cool if Kenta could.
Well, the good thing about Japanese companies is in scenarios like this, they tend to work together, don't they?
They do.
And they will help each other out, which is always nice.
I wonder if Marufuji turns up as well, because he's worked with All Japan a lot lately, and Noah and All Japan are a lot closer than they used to be.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit as well. I love the angle AEW are doing at the minute where they kind of harken back to the disastrous Firefest, which the name of their upcoming show, Fighter Fest, is kind of stolen from. And we've seen it since the start when they did stuff like the show vignette they did was basically a rip-off of the original Firefest promo video. And then doing stuff on Being the Elite like Kenny blowing the whole budget and everything like that, and how they're going to afford other things and stuff like that. It's been going on from the start, but they've taken it to another level recently, because Jericho went on Twitter this week saying he and Fozzy would no longer be appearing at the show, despite them never actually being booked for the show, but they would no longer be appearing at the show, with a tweet that was almost word for word what Blink-182 wrote when they pulled out of Firefest. And then Corey Taylor of Stone Sour and Slipknot then tweeted in support saying they were also pulling out of the event despite not being involved either. I just, it's just little things like this that are just like, it's stupid and it's simple. And you know what? This is not going to make anybody pay for, nobody's paying for the show anyway because it's free, but it's not going to make anybody pay to go out the way to watch AEW. It's just little stuff like this that just keeps you entertained.
Of course.
And the stuff they do on Being the Elite every week, we don't get a chance to recap it.
No, but it's really clever.
Or the Road to Double or Nothing stuff they're doing and the Road to Fighter Fest stuff they're doing now is really good. Like, I've just came round here because you haven't seen this week's episode of Road to Fighter Fest, but my God, they make Darby Allin look like a star towards the end of that.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. They're just great.
And when they get TV, like, that's going to be the kind of stuff that's going to go on TV. And just think about how great that's going to make people
look. But it's
look.
just a great way of keeping
less
people
comedic,
involved while you're hyping up your next shows. I mean, they've gone really hard on certain stuff this week. And guess what? Tickets went on sale yesterday. And they sold out in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
They do.
So New Japan will be announcing the entrants and blocks for the G1 on the 16th of June, followed by the matches on the 17th as their Kazuna road shows continue. So that should be interesting to see exactly who's in it, exactly what the blocks are going to be, and exactly what the matches are going to be.
I'm still going Kota Ibushi.
Yeah, so am I tentatively.
And then it'll be Ibushi, I think Ibushi Okada at Mania.
The good thing is, and I've forgotten to mention this, but the good thing is that despite the insane bump he took on the apron, Ibushi wrestled the other night in a 6-man tag against LIJ. So it's good to see that he's okay.
His neck is fine somehow.
Because
it was a different angle to the rest of his body.
It was just one of the most scary things I've ever seen in a wrestling ring.
Yeah.
So the Super J Cup is returning and will take place exclusively in the US this coming August, with shows in Washington State, San Francisco and Long Beach. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that as well. First time the Super J Cup's not emanated from Japan.
That'll be interesting.
So we've got some card updates as well. So Fighter Fest has announced some more matches with Adam Page versus MJF versus Jimmy Havoc versus Jungle Boy, and Nyla Rose versus Riho, who we really, really liked from the Joshi tag
I'm really looking forward to seeing her again.
versus Yuka Sakazaki, who we also liked from the Joshi tag.
Really looking forward to seeing that. Like,
So-
I was big fans of them, so the more I see them, the more I get to evaluate how good they really are. But looking forward to it.
Those two matches should be interesting. And then we've got a Best in the World card update as Jonathan Gresham will take on Silas Young in a Pure Rules match. Woohoo! I love those type of matches.
Pure Rules.
Yeah.
Bring back
Bring
the
back the Pure
title.
title.
Bring back.
And as for Slammiversary, they have announced RVD versus Moose, which is significantly less interesting, but, you know.
You know what? I've watched the last two episodes, though, while you've been round, we've had them on. The last two episodes of Impact Wrestling. I tell you what, you know, we just don't have time to review them because otherwise this show would be 2 hours long. But genuinely, you know, like, Impact's more than decent. Like, I would immeasurably rather watch that than Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. It's so much better.
Yeah, without doubt.
And Tessa Blanchard's on as well.
Yeah.
And she's amazing.
Awesome. So with that, we will move to our final segment this week, and it's kind of a sad one because it
10 years.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was
Officially.
yesterday.
Yesterday was officially the 10-year anniversary of the death of Mitsuharu Misawa, and he was awesome, like unbelievable. So we're just going to spend a little bit of time talking about Misawa. So do you want to kick us off, Jonathan?
Yeah, so obviously I've been a fan of Japanese wrestling for a long time. And I really got into Japanese wrestling sort of late 2008, early 2009. I always say that the first Japanese show that I watched, like all the way through, that I stayed up to watch, was Wrestle Kingdom 3. So it was around that time, and Misawa was on that show, tagging with Takashi Sugiura against Shinsuke Nakamura and Hiroki Goto. So that was the first time that I'd really properly seen Misawa. I'd been into Pro Wrestling Noah before I actually watched that show, but I'd never really properly watched Misawa, so that was the first time I saw him. And although he was overweight by that point and clearly broken down, all of the like unnatural charisma that he had, because he didn't have a great look. He didn't have like, you know, the come on charisma that you think babyfaces have. Just had an aura about him, and he was amazing. And he still could do so much with so little. And I then, you know, several months later, what happened. I have never seen it. I will never see it. I have no desire to see it. There's so many people, because I used to be, a member of the Pure Isu fan forum that was pretty big for Japanese wrestling around 10 years ago, and there was so many people talking about it, and there was videos linked on it, and I refused to watch it. Mitsuharu Misawa was, for a span of about 5 years, arguably the best wrestler on the planet.
You could argue for the majority of his career, from being Tiger Mask to beating Jumbo to, you know, him and Kenta and Kawada and who's the fourth man, Taue.
And then Akiyama later on as the younger one.
Yeah. Who just dominated all Japan and had all those legendary tag matches, the King's Road style, which was very entertaining, but it's
took its toll. Look at all of them now.
Caused a lot of damage, and obviously Misawa sadly passed away.
Kawada is the healthiest.
Kawada is thankfully the healthiest, but he was the one who did less of the King's Road. He was more striky than head droppy.
He was more strong style.
Yeah, and you know, like one of my favourite Japanese match of all time until I watched Okada Omega last year was a match between Kawada and Misawa for the title in the late 90s.
Right.
And I think it's an absolutely phenomenal match, and just you can tell in that match what made Misawa. You know, you've got Japanese commentary that you can't understand. You've got a title situation that you don't understand why they're fighting over it, what the history is, because I watched this match with very little knowledge of All Japan, and you can tell why Misawa was a star because he feels like one.
Yeah.
Without any knowledge of the backstory of him or anything like that, I just looked at him and went, oh my god, that guy's a star.
I always remember Misawa's entrance, right? Literally all Misawa ever does is Misawa comes out, walks up the steps, right? If it's Noah, right? If it's All Japan, it's the same. Just walks out, literally, keeps his head down, just keeps walking, doesn't really acknowledge the crowd at all, gets in the ring, rests on the ropes and sort of, you know, bounces on the ropes a little bit. That's it. But the crowd is going absolutely berserk for this man. Yeah.
Misawa.
And he's literally walking to the ring and just bouncing on the ropes, and you know, that's literally it. Obviously, Noah was the second part of Misawa's career. Misawa was very much the ace of All Japan in the 90s, was trusted by Barber to go out there and have the best matches and lead the company, and he was heavily protected by Barber. Misawa never really lost, and if he did win, if he did lose, it was a massive deal. We then had the All Japan split, which we won't talk about now. I'll talk about that maybe in another podcast, where he then went and formed Pro Wrestling Noah, and Noah for 3 years was the biggest wrestling company in Japan, certainly in Tokyo.
Without
in
doubt.
Tokyo, they drew unbelievably. They never drew as well outside of Tokyo, but in Tokyo, they drew better than New Japan at a time when New Japan flat out sucked. And they were great. They ran the Tokyo Dome. Misawa headlined the second Tokyo Dome show against Toshiaki Kawada.
The match he had with Kenta Kobashi as well, which was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Was that Destiny?
Yeah, no, because Destiny was the Tokyo Dome show. And there was 2 Tokyo Dome shows. Do you mean the one in 2003 at Budokan?
Yes,
where
that's what I mean,
where Kobashi wins the title off Misawa. Spoilers, sorry. Where Kobashi wins the title off Misawa.
Awesome match.
Yeah.
So good.
My favourite Misawa match will always be the 1991 against Jumbo Tsuruta. It was Misawa's first.
The one that made Misawa the guy.
Yeah, because Misawa was like the head of the young generation, and Jumbo was still very much the leader of the old generation. It's a great match. It's unbelievable.
Jumbo doesn't get the credit he deserves for how good he was.
Jumbo was a great wrestler. He was towards the end of his peak by that point, but like it was very much the passing of the torch, and it was just out of. If you haven't seen that match,
go out your way.
I can't underestimate it, and it to this day it might be one of my favourite matches in terms of storytelling that they tell throughout the match. With the new young guy trying to prove himself against the vet ace. Just Mitsuharu Misawa is if you could describe a 5-star wrestler who's capable of making 5-star matches, it's Mitsuharu Misawa, and I miss him so much.
Me too. So with that, we will say rest in peace, Misawa.
Absolutely.
Once again, and it's time to end the show, unfortunately. So, have you got anything you'd like to add before we get out of here, Jonathan?
No, nothing more from.
Sorry, we're out of time. We'll see you next week on the 2-Man Booth.